What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. This episode is really exciting. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating brands in golf right now, Sunday Red. It's been just under 2 years since Tiger Woods launched it, and everyone's been asking the same questions. How involved is Tiger really? What's the story behind the design, and how do you build a premium brand from the ground up when the face of it is already a legend? To answer all that, I sat down with Cáje Moye, Senior Creative Director for Apparel and Accessories at Sunday Red. The dude's been in the industry for a minute now. We get into product, the process, and how Tiger's mindset shows up in every single stitch. Let's get into it.
My name's Cáje Moye. I'm the creative director, the head of product for the apparel and the accessory side of the business here at Sunday Red. Right, so we have a footwear team, we have an apparel and accessory team. So I head that up. So it's a tight little team. My background is I came from TaylorMade Golf, most recently when I was running all their soft goods there too. So the way the brand came together was a lot through the soft goods side at TaylorMade. And so when it started and sort of the whole composition of everything and all the behind the scenes, I was fortunate to be kind of in the middle of that and was again fortunate to sort of move over to the role I'm at now from TaylorMade. So here at Sunday Red. So it's been a pretty wild ride so far.
You have a pretty just gnarly resume in detail. I was just doing a little bit of digging thanks to LinkedIn. You graduated from Oregon State too. So did you live,
Yes.
you lived in Beaverton?
We're conference, no conference right now, but that's a separate conversation. Yes.
So where were you born and raised at then?
Yeah, so I was born in the Bay Area, actually in California. I was raised in Southern California, and then my family moved up to Oregon when I was pretty young. I was kind of just out of elementary school and kind of thing. So I normally say I'm kind of from the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Right. But when you grow up in Oregon and all that, that's how that goes. Where are you from?
I'm from Oregon, so that's why.
Where are you at from Oregon?
So I went to college at Western Oregon, which was 15 minutes from Oregon State. Yeah. So
totally. Yeah.
I grew up just outside of Salem.
Okay. Oh yeah. So that's the same spot, man. Yeah. Yeah. So I lived out in South Corvallis, out almost towards Western. So way out there. My family has property out there and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I went to Oregon State and you know the drill. So then I got on after Oregon State. I started with a company that was based in New York, but they had stores in Oregon. So I started working in like Lincoln City and things like that on the coast for forever. And then, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. So there's a lot of people though from the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of sneaky good incubator because of Oregon and Oregon State. Like Oregon specifically, they have a great program for merchandising and things like that from Phil Knight. So there's people that are just getting really good runway out of college that get right into jobs. So I've interviewed a ton of people recently from that area, from Washington, things like that. So
yeah, no, for sure. I'd say like Silicon Valley is definitely obviously known for tech, but up here, Pacific Northwest, it's like soft goods central.
It is. You think all the brands that are now in Portland, man, it's crazy. There's footwear, there's sport. I mean, I came up through a brand that was based in New York, but when I got into New York, I ended up, I was with a brand for a long time, but my next job was with Adidas back in Portland, and my wife worked for Nike. So we went, we kind of just been ping ponging back and forth across the country, but it was great for me to go back to Oregon. It was like natural. She was from New York, and she's like, I don't know, man. Their perception of people that grew up in New York of Oregon is very different than when they get here. Like, this is not anything like I thought it was going to be. Because I think it rains all the time. I'm like, it does rain, but it doesn't rain as much as you think it does. It almost looks like it's almost going to rain, but the summers are amazing. And you're sort of like, so you kind of do that whole thing. And then it's just a different culture. You're in your car a lot and all that, and you're outdoors a lot. And you're like, you get really used to that lifestyle. And then we've sort of stayed on the West Coast after that. So it's been a good, we both have worked for sport brands and large brands and small ways and big ways. And so at every stop I've been at, there's always been some kind of either golf or basketball component. And I love the game of golf. So I was fortunate to get on to TaylorMade and, at the right time. And they're such a great company and they've got great leadership and it's been a really good setting for me. So fortunate to be here doing back in the apparel accessory space, which is kind of where I started. So it's been great.
No doubt. What a wild ride. I think
Mhm.
because we're looming on 2 years with Sunday Red, which is, it seems insane because it feels like we were still just talking about the original announcement back in 24. I guess if we go back to that point in time around that February 2024 timestamp,
Mm.
how many things or projects did you guys already have in the works before everybody kind of like, I guess, got previewed to the brand? Because where I stand now, like what I'm wearing, the piece of the Lux line,
Oh yeah.
this is something that I've talked about at Verbatim, is to say that you're a premium or luxe brand is one thing, but to have product that actually aligns to that is a whole nother world. And I feel like that you guys have been drop after drop, like hitting that mark every single time, which is insane. Just again, knowing that we haven't even crossed 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was really hard. It was like,
Yeah.
so again, TaylorMade sort of at the genesis of this is a hard goods company, man. Like balls, clubs, I was in the soft goods side, but we weren't really making apparel. We don't have the infrastructure to do it. It's very complex to make apparel and accessories and footwear. It's like, it's long lead times, it's expertise, all that. We didn't have any of that. So the way they had to come together was really interesting. Someday there'll be a book about this, I'm sure. It just the nature of the secrecy, the timing of it, the respect of the former organization, all of that was in play. And so we were creating infrastructure behind the scenes as fast as we could with the expertise that we had in our hand. We were leaning on a lot of vendors and mills at the time to sort of help us along the way and get things done quickly, finding factories that were able to move quickly, but were also understanding how to craft product correctly. And so our 2 years is a long time. Sometimes it feels like 10 minutes, and then sometimes it feels like 10 years. Because we've internally changed so much about where we started. Because we sat with Tiger, we sat with the team, we thought, like our concept was this is who we want to be. We knew the landscape, we knew sort of where we wanted to place ourselves, and that was our initial target. And then very quickly we started to sort of accelerate that in a different direction. And we learned a lot about the vendor base we had. We hired some needed headcount in some experts in some fields, and we looked outside the game of golf a lot to help us get there quickly. There's a Orange County, California, or LA as a general spot is really great to be in, because there is a treasure trove of people that are industry veterans, that are specialists in certain areas, that understand how to craft product the right way, understand vendors, who to work with, what countries to work with. And then we sort of realigned very quickly, initially in 24, as to like, hey, we like this part of our business. We think we can get better here, and this is where we want to go. And some other places, we went to Asia, we went to some other countries, we went to Peru, went to some other spots that we knew we needed to be in. And we met with people. We sort of looked at what they were doing. We trialed and errored a lot of things. And Tiger was always sort of at the center of this, because at the time he was very much like, he was very engaged. He was very much our wear tester. He was in the middle of, he was a really good resource in terms of how to look at product and how to build product and for different reasons. So we were making a lot of samples with a lot of vendors in a lot of different ways and a lot of different styles. We're trying fabrics, we're trying everything, with this ultimate goal of being super, sort of like trying to set the new bar in these categories, and starting with on-course apparel specifically. And so very quickly we were able to, in all the spaces, craft what we think was really good foundational product. It tested out very well. It doesn't mean it was inexpensive to make. It was very hard to make for these guys, and we did a lot of relationship building when we were in Asia very quickly. So we accelerated everything where we could, and we ended up with what we felt like was a good core product at the base. And we like to think that it's always improving. We're constantly trying to get better with everything we do, whether it's packaging, it's trim, it's neck tape, it's fabrics, it's fit. We're constantly evolving every time we make a piece of product to make it sure it's better than the last piece we made, which is a little bit of Tiger's mantra and the brand's mantra is you're never satisfied, always getting better. No detail is overlooked. And that matters because tomorrow, the next day, you're going to be better than you were the day before. You just keep learning and learning. That's a lot how he sort of looks at everything, which is really fascinating. So it's helped us get better. It challenged us. It challenged our vendors. So our vendors actually are kind of sneaky engaged with us a lot because we've asked them to do things that they've never done before. We're in some spots that our competitors are at, and there's a fascination with Tiger, with the way to look at things. We're like, hey man, this, and usually the way brands go about it is they find something they like, they kind of find a fabric, they find a style of something, and they try and recreate it or trying to put their spin on it. And there's an element of that, but we look at a lot of things and we like this, but we wish it did this. Can we do that? And they're like, I don't know. Well, let's see if we can mix these fibers, mix these fabrics. Let's see if we can wrap that yarn a little differently. Let's see if we can change the way that we approach the seams or the sewing and the tolerances of the way we put the garment together. So they're doing all these things. The owners of these factories love to see us coming because they sort of, it re-engages their sort of sense of purpose because they've been doing it for decades, a lot of these guys, and it's kind of just sort of on repeat. But we were over there actually last week, and they love the challenges we set forth, and it's sort of just everybody appreciates it, and it gets to the point where you start looking at the product, and we're looking at, we have product out now. We looked at 26. We just looked at fall winter 26 a couple minutes ago. We looked at 27, which we're building right now. We're looking at 28, and just some of the pieces that we have in our hands. I'm like, this is awesome. We're just so excited about it. And the storytelling is getting just better and better and better. And it's kind of why we're here talking today. But nothing comes across our table now that we're not totally satisfied with. We drop things all the time because it just doesn't meet the expectations. So that's not easy to do because we eat sometimes we eat liability. We've already committed to stuff, but it doesn't end up at the point of purchase where we want it. We just move away from it. And that's helped us a lot, the freedom to do that. And a lot of that comes from our infrastructure here. A lot of TaylorMade is like, hey man, follow the compass, not the clock. Just make sure the product's right and make sure that the message and the brand is right. We like to think we're product led as a company, and which is a really good way to think about it internally if you can stick to that mindset. And so far we've been able to do that. The customers reacted well to us. Our athletes react well. Everybody's reacted well. So you just sort of put those pillars out and just start driving towards it, and everything else has kind of worked itself out.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode with Cage. This conversation continues to get better over time, like a great whiskey, which makes it the perfect moment to bring in the Style Pursuit presented by my friends over at Bushmills Irish Whiskey. We're about to get into those early Sunday red moments with Tiger Woods. Tiger's been on tour for 3 decades. He lived through the big shoulder 90s, the tech sharp 2000s, and now this new chapter, his own brand, Sunday Red. And as fans, those first 6 to 8 months have felt like the sampling phase, our first pour of a brand finding its flavor in real time. And like a great whiskey, a great brand takes time to mature. It's how an idea evolves from a spark into something truly premium. Think about Bushmills 21 Year, the pinnacle of Irish whiskey. Aged for 19 years in sherry and bourbon casks, that extra time brings out warm notes of fruit and spice and a silky sweetness you can't rush. It's confidence refined through time. The same spirit shows up in Sunday Red's 92 collection, Tiger's remake of the iconic striped polo he wore in 1992. Long before the Sunday Reds, there was this kid in Cypress, California with golf magazines and school books and a dream. Now that moment lives again through an entire collection. Like a good whiskey, Tiger's story keeps revealing new layers the longer you sit with it. Let's get back into it with Cage as he breaks down how Tiger's influence shaped the way this brand was built. It has been, I mean, a year and 8 months. It's so fascinating. I think there's two things that are uniquely Sunday Red. One was in the first like 6 to 8 months, and had some back and forth with your guys' team internally about it. But it felt like as a consumer, we were living and breathing like the sampling phase of the brand. Like I have some of the
Totally.
OG polos that don't have any of the marks on it. And I remember
Yeah.
there was a lot of conversations with consumers asking, where are the marks at? This is the whole reason like we
Mhm.
wanted the brand. And I remember I tried to articulate it the best way I could, but the brand is like building in real time. And the
Mhm.
idea, like how long product takes to get through the vendor, the manufacturing, the sampling, the approval, and then push to consumers, people have no idea how long that takes. And then the other part of it is this unique advantage that you guys have, being able to walk in a room saying this is for Tiger Woods,
Mhm.
opens up, I would assume opens
Yeah.
up conversations or opportunities that probably not anybody can just get on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's definitely how we got into some of the places we got into because we were not getting in there without his name. So it's which is really interesting. So and it that he still is relevant today, even though he's not really, you don't see him as much. He doesn't play obviously a lot. He still is relevant, especially overseas, as he was 20 years ago. He's like there's a
Mhm.
absolute fascination with him because he is that guy. But yeah, so going back on your first point, 100%. The understated branding was like the conversations behind that were when we look back were incredible. Again, there'll be a book on this. We have just um, we have pages of brand marks and brand names that we went through with Tiger and everybody that what do we call this brand? What's the brand mark? All that kind of stuff. And we have those, we guard those, and we have plans for some release of those, coming up. But they're incredible. Like, you look at them, you're like,
I can't even
it was
imagine.
wild. It was wild, and so because everybody kind of weighed in, and he weighed in, and he has a perspective, but he didn't, so that side of the brand was awesome. When we first started this, we're like, Tiger was very much like he's as much as you think you assume he might be, and where he is, personally and everything he's achieved. He's not a me guy at all. He did not want the brand name Tiger Woods at all. He really kind of wanted distance from it. Um, and so the branding naturally was understated, and that was kind of the initial plan. It's like there's a lot of successful brands, especially in the golf space, that really are not brands. They have no brand marks on them. We're very subtle, back neck or internal, and they're known for a great product, and we're like, we can do that. Like, that's us. And very quickly we're like, whoop, like people want that brand mark.
Mhm.
We miscalculated that a little bit, and then we kind of accelerated the other direction, and we've got some sort of hero items that have become sort of iconic already. But like, we put a lot into the embellishments and the details as much as we can. And that's getting better and better every time we make a piece of a product that rolls out. So yeah, the journey of the brand very quickly, as you're 100% on point, was us building it, realizing, reacting, trying to be proactive as far as we could. And it's the brand's just evolving. And the customer's driving a little bit of it. We're driving a lot of it. Tiger's driving some of it. But it's been really cool to see. And I think that's kind of, finding the space and sort of what gets us excited internally as a brand. Seeing that works for the consumer as well. That was a huge win for us. So, because there's a bit of a sea of sameness out there when you go to some of these golf shops and clubs, and that just the landscape of it. And I personally, we're very, very much fans of all golf brands. We like what the other brands that have more of a streetwear flair or whatever it might be, or a high end flair. All that is great. Like, that all helps everybody. We're very much a fan of every brand. And to find your own space in your own lane and stay sort of true to yourself and make sure that everything you're putting out is quality and premium and it has a touch and a feel and fits well and performs well. Like, that's always our goal. But we like experimenting with the brand. We're always tinkering here and there. We've got things that we like to try, and we'd like to have fun with it. So it's been a really good brand experience for us internally to have fun with everything we're doing.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And the other thing that's interesting too, I think you guys might have just posted this within like the last week or so, but Tiger in a video was saying that we're designing for the high level athlete. And obviously, you rewind a year, he's still playing in a few different competitions, and that's where we can see the brand on body for the first time.
Yep.
But it feels like, especially this specific year, as you guys have like expanded the line, it feels like you're designing more for like just the high level individual. Obviously, like Tiger's in a bunch of stuff outside of the sport. He's a businessman. He's a top tier father and whatnot. And like his lifestyle also parallels some of the collections. Again, I like go back to this Lux hoodie piece isn't necessarily for on course, but it's an elevated version for somebody who really cares about some of those characteristics or details in terms of just how things fit and feel. Is that something intentionally you guys are trying to do, or is it just you've finally gotten to a point where you're catching up to what you guys can actually bring to life?
Yeah, I would say, realistically, it's a little bit of both. We wanted to get there quicker, but through trial and error, we just couldn't get there fast enough on some of these fabrications and where we're having to make it. And we've learned a lot. Again, I'm gonna go back to the vendors a little bit, but like, I could the piece you're wearing right there, I could make it in 5 different places and it would turn out 5 different ways. And so finding the right vendor to do that, and it when you see it when you go there, and you're like, oh man, their QC is incredible. The way that they're approaching the stitching, their equipment that they have is proper, all that kind of stuff. So, a lot of what the brand is head to toe, that guy, and that guy is very appreciative of quality, fit, performance, a little understated, more than loud, more than anything else, and just expects the performance to be there. And performance can mean different things in different pieces, but expects the performance to be there in anything he wears, whether it's a sock, a shoe, a cashmere sweater, even a hat, a glove. Everything we make, it has a sort of level of expectation to it. So to be able to fill out the closet finally and start getting there, and we have a lot more pieces coming. We're still working on some of the longer lead time areas in sort of the outerwear space and things like that. We've got a lot of really cool things coming there as we start to build that out. But the expectation for us is that we can cover that guy's entire closet, and that every piece in there, that the first piece he grabs, whether it's a hoodie, a pair of pants, a short, a woven shirt, eyewear, whatever it is, we want that to be our brand, because our guy wears all that stuff. He appreciates that stuff. And we think we can deliver all that at a super high quality level.
Mm-hmm. To that point, and again, you've been around the industry for a minute now, and then obviously Tiger being in the game, at least on the tour level, for almost 30 years now. Is there any moment that he shifted the way that you approach design, just working with him directly?
Yeah, definitely. Almost the first instant. So sort of like, it's kind of like we had a bunch of people in the room, like, we know what we're doing. And then he's got a mind where, and I've run across this a couple of times, but like, it's very infrequent. Like, he looks at things just differently. And, to him, everything's an advantage. And you're like, yeah, I know, if you're sure, if it's comfortable, whatever. He's like, no, he's like it, he's like, there's a better way to do everything. And again, no details overlooked. So, he was 30 years with a really good company that made really good product. And maybe it started one place, but it started athlete first way back in the day. And that's what attracted a lot of those guys, is they were building product that worked better for the athlete. And that's really at his core, what he's looking for is like, give me a competitive advantage with everything I wear, whether I'm hitting balls and whether I'm lifting weights, whether I'm running, whether whether I'm recovering, whatever it is, give me something that's better than the other guy's wearing. And mentally, he's going to use that as fuel in his positive mindset, his pursuit to sort of chase guys down and do better in everything he's doing. He knows, ironically, even though we might look at him as this, he always thinks he's not the most talented guy, but he's never going to get outworked. And he still has that mindset of like, I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to outwork you because I can, and my product's better than yours. And that's how he's approaching it. So when we sat down with him, he would throw out questions that a lot of times we're like, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked that. We're not sure if we can do that. You know, you ask him, one of the famous meetings that we had early on that a lot of guys around here that were in that room want to quote was when we sat down and we said, hey man, if you had to design, you know, your perfect polo, or what you wanted to play in that would make you perform your absolute best, what would it look like? And his answer was, I would perform naked. He's like, I would perform literally in the nude if I could, because that's the experience I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And he was half joking, right? So, you know, what he was really trying to articulate is like, there's a better way to build everything that you're wearing to help you perform and improve. And I've been at companies that we say that, and we do things and we build seams and this and that. And your whole idea is to remove the distractions and things like that. He was really serious about it. And so we took that approach pretty intently, and what came out of it was some product that nobody in golf is doing. Other people might be doing in other categories, but there's the industry is so innovative, and moves so quickly that you can get into stuff now that is made for bobsledding and speed skating and things that and race car driving, things that matter, thousandths of a second matter to these guys. And you're like, well, why would it apply necessarily to the game of golf? Well, like, what they're really doing is they're just removing obstacles on your person, whether it's seams, whether it's the way they're approaching the build, whether it's you know, the CAD world of building product, now the AI world of building product. Like, this is all happening somewhere, and just taking that and going and finding it and seeing if it worked for you and some of our product, and finding out that it did, and there's a better way to build a sweater or a knit or an engineered product. And, you know, technology that's been in footwear for a while, can you apply it to clothing? And so we're doing all of that, which we probably never would have done had you not challenged us right out of the gate. And the result was getting him product that he feels cooler in, that he feels allows him to swing more freely in, that allows him to hit balls without dripping in Florida heat longer in, which allows him to work out and train in and not have to change his shirt, which allows us to build a glove that is thinner than the one he had prior, but lasts 4 times longer. Just all these little like touch points that he has sort of given us, we've sort of just directly put this back in the product, and we sort of sit back and look at it, and you're like, that is better. That is better than the one we were building. Like, we were planning to build this, and we ended up building that. I'm like, that one is better. Like, at the end of the day, that's a better pant. That's a better short. You know, that pocket is better than this pocket. Like, so all these little things have sort of just piled into everything we do. And it can get tedious and very sort of detail oriented, but you kind of dig it after a while, and you sort of look for it, and you're like, that's why this brand is here, and that's why that one's there. And we sort of like that, and we sort of make sure that that's always there, and it becomes just sort of a non-negotiable filter of everything we do, that we've looked at every possible detail. And then the vendor sort of executed it the way we want to execute it, and we're very sort of hands-on in the way we sort of QC product. And all that has gone together, and really that's really directly from the fact that this is Tiger Woods, and his mind is that mind, and the way he looks at things is really unique, and that's helped us, and we put it directly into the brand, and it's kind of everything that we touch.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the reasons why I've always really appreciated working with athletes, is because from a consumer level, like if you go and you read any product reviews, they're giving you a pretty like materialistic feedback on product, but athletes, they have a knack between the balance of subjective and objective truth. So like when you say better, that's really hard to define what better is if you're not looking at it objectively through measurables. And that's something goal-oriented athletes understand. I need to have a specific foundation, and then how do we elevate from there? And then also on top of that, there's a level of feel too, that the athlete can then articulate in a way that's unique to the industry. Do you think that has been something that's dramatically helped too?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, he's to that point. It's not like he's a product guy, right? These
Yeah.
guys are never product guys. They just they give you something, and they sometimes they're very blunt. They're like, do better. They just give you that, and you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. I probably do better. And we said, and so they know what good feels like or great feels like because they're just comparing it to things that they've had. So you just sort of keep going through that process, and literally sometimes it's just trial and error, trial, and you're cutting things and you're repenting it and you're doing all that and you're giving them heavy wear test samples. You're building that into the calendar, which a lot of times we didn't in my past life. You don't you're not necessarily truly wear testing product, but this we're really wear testing it, and we get a lot of rejections, and we drop some things that just didn't make the cut, and it helps us make the next thing better. But like, yeah, the athlete's mind is he's got the mind where he could tell you, um, the last 22 PGAs what the weather was every round. And
Mhm.
I don't know how he's remembering that, but like he's got that weird sort of mind where he looks at something, he's like, "Oh, I wore that in 1992 on the eighth green at like, Sawgrass." I'm like, "All right," and he's like, "It was very hot there, and I remember like sweating, and it changed colors, and it sort of got really sticky." And he's got all these things where he swings a club, and he's like, "What I'd really like is not to have to adjust my shirt afterwards."
Mhm.
And like, because it sticks to me because I perspire a lot. I'm like, that's fair. I'm like, you don't necessarily think about that when you're building a shirt, but like now we automatically, that's like a non-negotiable. It's like the inside of the shirt has to have a certain sort of viscosity to it, and it has to perform at a certain humidity point and with a certain perspiration point so it doesn't cling, right? So that's like a non-negotiable for this brand. Is like the insides of a lot of things we do are a lot slicker intentionally than the outside. So putting hand feel on the outside and making it very sort of performance driven on the inside. So there's things like that we're just building in that come directly from the athlete. And then when you start playing in these things, and I play a lot of golf, and I'm like, I'm a decent golfer, and I sweat like everybody else, but like I'm not that guy, and
Yeah.
but like I can appreciate it. Now that I'm trying, I'm like, God damn, that guy, that is better.
He's right. He
I'm not
doesn't.
pulling my shirt anymore. This is amazing. This guy's, I guess I was pulling my shirt. You're not constantly doing this anymore. So it's been really interesting. So I'm like, but it's kind of fun, and like these are the kind of things where we go directly to the material mills, and we're like, hey man, I like this a lot. I need it to be like this on the underside. Can you do that? And you're like, I don't know. Like maybe. So they try and try and try, and we
Try
get
it.
something like, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, I put some nylon in there. This nylon 56. It's a wind cool. We put it in there, and it made it slicker, and it gave it more structure, so it won't wrinkle when it's got a better wash and wear. I'm like, okay, this sounds great. So we go through this whole process, and you're just like, man, this is, and so, our whole team, which is from an industry of other apparel brands and of different levels, like nobody's gone through this, which is really, so I was like, maybe it was just me. I've never seen this kind of level. And they're like, no, nobody's ever done this like to this level. So it's been awesome, but like you almost can't get enough of it because you kind of want more. So the more we're engaged with him and with anybody else, we have Phillips and a couple of the guys that we use. The mind of the athlete works different, but we always find if we can satisfy those guys, they're usually the harshest critics of anything that they do. That it usually translates down to the core consumer, and they'll appreciate it just because it works better for them, not knowing how it got to that point. So,
Mhm.
and we try and storytell a little bit of that, but there's a lot of stuff we just don't even talk about that's built in that we've done, which has been.
Mhm. And the storytelling thing is interesting too because like we can go and talk about the 92 collection. That felt the first version of that felt like your first like real statement piece where I think it opened up a lot of the chatter that you had heard like, oh, there's 30 years on the table. Like they can go back and pull from any moment and recreate it and into the version of Sunday Red that you see today. Um, do you think that when Tiger is in like those fitting moments, is he thinking about story, or is that something that you guys are already in the back of your minds as marketers, knowing this is how we want to articulate it and bring this back
Yeah,
to its
it's definitely more us. He doesn't understand the fascination with him. There's an element of, you guys want to, you think like people are interested in that shirt? I'm like, what do you mean if people are interested? You have no, he has no idea how emotional he gets people. I think still to this day, right? Which could totally appreciate. So like when I keep saying it, like he's not a me guy. He's not really a me guy. So, and that's another piece of it right there is um, like we're fans of him and like anybody else. And I'm old enough to remember, where I was when I was watching him win amateurs and junior amateurs and this is rise, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then like, he exceeds all the expectations. Like, this is incredible. But I have a fondness of that. And everybody else, we found very early on that everybody else definitely did. He gets kind of a chuckle out of it more than anything else, but he does like it. He has a fondness. Again, he's got the memory, like, for us, we know that the brand, it's built on core premium product and great sort of storytelling components around it. And the storytelling of young Tiger, amateur Tiger, early Tiger, the rise of Tiger, and just sort of that arc that we can take as a brand over the next 10, 15 years, in addition to all the other stuff we want to do, is natural to us, and we get excited about it. We first sort of tinkered around with the launch of the brand and kind of re-releasing his 92 polo. We loved it, and then when that sort of went out and it kind of went crazy and it got it disappeared in like an hour. We're like, ooh. Like, we undervalued that sort of emotional connection. And again, at the time, we were going through this non-branded phase of like, keep the brand subtle and whatever. So there was a lot going on there, but like, so we knew that there was something there. We liked it. I was super pleased because I love it. The archive of the 90s fashion in the game of golf, the game of the NBA, and all just the culture of sport that was happening is awesome. And it is sort of, it's a really good time to sort of revisit all of that, just because it's kind of hot again, in addition to it being super cool. But it helped us give an identity to the brand a little bit. So it sort of separated it a little bit from some of the competitors in terms of like the style of it, at least what we could do and be authentic about it. But we would go there and we'd sort of, hey man, we're thinking about doing this. Like, what are your thoughts? He's like, oh man, he's like, I wore that, here, man. I had terrible back nine. He sort of started drifting off into his round in 1992 at Riviera. And we're like, yeah. And you just sort of sit there and be like, this is incredible. Like, he's just recounting, 30 years ago or whatever it was, his round as an amateur. And he could recount all of these shirts and all these things. And so we're like, oh man, he loves this too. And his team loved it. Charlie Woods loved this, everybody that saw it was like, this is so cool. So he was super happy to wear it, that first 92 polo, which was really pleasing to us because we thought it looked kind of cool too. It was very different. It was recognizable. He pulls it out. It's his go-to polo when he's just hitting balls and going around, which is really good to hear. So he's got a closet full of stuff and he likes that one. And so we're like, okay, man, you like that one. We've got like we're ready for you. Like, we've got to wait to see what's coming kind of thing. So the storytelling, back to answer your question, sort of long-winded way, but like we sort of know that there's a standard for the product itself. And then, he's a classic guy. He's late 40s. And so we're not going to put him in anything that's going to, he doesn't want to be seen in. He's not the young Tiger anymore. He's not wearing some of the crazy stuff he used to wear. But there is a way to sort of marry the two together in terms of like bringing that emotional kind of cool style of the young Tiger, the amateur, the pre-Nike Tiger, if you will, into sort of today's, world of technical lifestyle and premium product and all that. And it's kind of the way we're trying to put it together and put it on him. And he likes wearing it, and it creates a kind of a buzz, and everybody likes it, and everybody just feels good, and they feel like the emotional sort of roller coaster that we go on when we sort of make this product and see him in it. So it's been a really fun thing to sort of explore, I think, with him and the brand.
So what does this year's 92 collection look like then? Is it just
Yeah.
an expansion on the original idea from last year?
Yeah, we wanted to give everybody else another crack at that polo, to be honest with you. We get such a call out for that polo. So what this really is, so it is an expansion of the 92. So we're going to reissue the 92. We've rebuilt it again. Like I said, we've every polo we make, we're a little bit better. This polo is got a really good, we've re-engineered the base cloth, so it's a really high performing tour level polo. It's got a beautiful collar. There's all sorts of technology in the collar. It's going to be, a bulletproof thing, a wash and wear sort of piece. So it's we reissued the polo because we wanted to give somebody another crack at it. But we also, it's kind of a springboard to 2026, not to pull the curtain back too much, but this is kind of a launch point of how we see the next year, 2 years going. So the storytelling is going to get super dynamic, starting with this 92 polo reissue. So this reissue specifically, we did the same blue, navy, red colorway back out. We're launching a youth polo in the same thing. So you can kind of father son this thing. So it's kind of cool. When you see this thing like shrunk down really tiny, you're like, oh my God, talk about emotional. So people in the room are like, they see a tiny tiger polo. It gets people like all sorts of lather. So we did that in the youth. We also did a second colorway that's really cool in this black red of that same polo. So at Tiger's request, he's like, man, it'd be super cool if I could do that red and black one. We're like, perfect. So we have a couple colorways of that 92, and then we just built the collection out. So we try to give a really robust, what was it like when he first wore that in 1992? What was really happening? And he had some things, we have a lot of really great shots of his bedroom back in 92 and 93.
That's what I was going to wonder.
It was wild, man. Like he was very much in the media back then. This was like, he was in high school. So he had to get like you hear him talk about it. And we keep trying to get him to podcast this too, because just him talking about it, you're like, dude, people would die if they heard you talking about your 90s. And like he was at high school when he had a petition to play in the tournament. He's like, I got to get out of like science class. It was like all of that was happening. And so the news media was on him and they were following him around because there was a fascination with him because he just won a bunch of juniors and all that kind of stuff. And then, they go into his room and he's a kid that's playing video games with his hat on backwards, with NBA posters on the wall. And he's got Lamborghini poster on the wall and the starter jacket, all that kind of stuff. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is like a gold mine. Like we got to do something with this. So we started building that 92 collection. When we reissued it was just going to be the polo. And we're like, no, we got to do a little bit more with it because it is kind of a springboard for a spectacular 2026 year. So with a lot of the same influences coming. So we went to starter. We've got this. We said, hey man, would you make us kind of a limited edition Sunday Red starter jacket that was like 1992 authentic? And they're like, gotcha. We're like, you want us to use the 92 pattern and like the 92 like logo? And we're like, yes, like make it like it was 1992. So they're going to do that. So we got like a handful of pieces coming out in that, which is like, amazing. And then we just took that stripe, we made head cover. We got like a little ball marker. We've got all these pieces coming out that are going to like make this collection like kind of fun and kind of, again, a throwback 92 sort of thing. We shot it in a way that was kind of cool, like kind of mimicked his bedroom, things like that. So in the wallpaper. So just the whole storytelling around this, I think is going to work pretty good. And again, every piece is very wearable and very sort of like engaging. So it was really our goal was just to have fun with it and give the consumer like a really good time with this product, knowing that Tiger's like, he's super thrilled with it. He loves all the pieces. He gets everything and he's like, I'm going to use this. This is awesome. And he goes and he uses it. So it makes you feel really good that you hit the mark with the athlete. The brand, you kept it pure with the brand in terms of the quality and the premium execution of it, and the customer's going to have a good time with it. So really that was the goal. And then as it springs into 26, like that concept is going to go bonkers. We think with what we've got teed up. So we've got some, we hit the archives hard, and there's some wild stuff coming. So we're super keen on 26 and 27.
I think that has probably been the thing that I've been just absolutely fascinated about, because obviously people know him as not being very a media first guy, very private.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of archives that have to exist that nobody's seen has got to be substantial. And the other thing is that's funny is there's a ton of shots that exist in the digital ether that people use for mood boards. So people see the same imagery all the time. So like you speaking about images that nobody's seen before, that's the stuff that I'm like, I just can't even imagine what exists that you guys have access to, that he's at least at the smallest point willing to have a conversation on how you bring product to life through that lens too, that is what fires me up. I can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it's there's not a lot of other dudes you could do this with, right? Like you're kind of, he's such almost a one-on-one, because you knew him when he was young, and he was everywhere when he was young. And then his rise was so, was from the Tonight Show to like, now it's like, it's such an exposed thing, but you forget, like, before the internet, this all happened before, like, there's so much that happened that wasn't, recorded online. It was like news media, it was pictures. And so you're like, he had a set of parents that collected and kept all this stuff, man.
Everything.
You're like, this, oh my God, you have no idea what you're sitting on. And he's racking trophies, and then the generations of product that he would get, at his fame level sent to him is incredible. And he keeps all this stuff, right? So it's just like, again, he's got a humbleness to him, which is odd to say, but he's like, you think people will be interested in this? I'm like, what are you crazy? I'm like, you don't even understand because his office is just full of things that are just things to him. And you're like, dude, that's the scorecard from the Masters. It's just sitting there. Mm-hmm. It's like, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I remember that. He's like, he just sort of is like, like, oh, this is ridiculous. So for us, our goal, just at a brand, obviously we want to always remain like, we think the product speaks for itself, but we love the Easter eggs. And a little bit of this comes from TaylorMade, where we just love sort of just storytelling and hidden gems and like little subtle deep nods. And we've put stuff into product that we haven't even spoken about yet. So that has always been there that people don't know. And so we've got this sort of like idea and funness to the brand that leverages Tiger. But, the 92 thing has been a fun run. And I think people will like this collection that's coming out. There's some kind of cool pieces just within it, but then just as they start getting engaged and you start thinking about like how it could be and how it will be in terms of we always reference like the sneaker culture a lot, and the way the sneaker industry went from like selling shoes to like releases and like limited editions and that fervor and people lining up to get the drop or the whatever. We think there's opportunity to do that in golf, in apparel and accessories, and even with footwear for us. So for this brand, we think that there's a way to sort of just give energy to the industry and to the brand, and just to get engaged with the consumer and have fun with it, that everybody appreciates and like sort of harkens that time of like, man, that was awesome. Some of the stuff's crazy. Some of the stuff is super retro looking, which is interesting. And then when you see it in our heads, we're like, if you see Tiger on the first tee at the Masters in a retro, old school vintage Tiger polo, I'm like, that seems fun for me. Like I'm all there for that, because you don't see it. You see guys tee it up in whatever they're wearing, and maybe there's like, some brands do decent amount of like, azalea print and this and that, but like, I'm like, just the concept of Tiger being thrilled that he's in this like shirt he wore in 1993 or whatever it was, or 1990 at an amateur event, and we've recreated it, and it's very different looking, and it's different for him. but it works for him at his age and his stature and his position in the game, but that he likes it and he engages it. And we think the fact that he likes it, the customer's going to love it. And then we just sort of build a collection around it. We're like, oh, it's going to be awesome. Like you're super jonesed about it. So we think there's a lot of good stuff coming. We think it helps us find our lane as a brand.
Yep.
And it works, it's going to work for us internationally as we expand the brand that way too. And footwear's on board, and footwear's supporting it with these super cool tie-ins as well. So there's a lot going on all over the place in this building, which we'd love to have you here and you could see this in person because your mind would explode. Because we like running people through our product room and getting their reactions. But yeah, it's been great. So it's all been working for us well right now. And we look forward to sort of launching it here in a couple weeks.
No doubt. I mean, the sea of the sameness that you said, those unexpected moments, that's almost like a fire alarm, especially in golf, because it is very minutiae, if you will. When do you feel like the Sunday brand really hit its stride or was like its coming out moment? I think for me, I noticed it when I was at the ACC tournament down in Lake Tahoe where all the athletes were assembled and they were all wearing Sunday red. And it was this like aha moment where from a cultural lens, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but he's completely unaware of, he is the Kobe of basketball, the Lance of cycling. Like people still care about who he is and how he shows up in the sport. And all of these current and ex-athletes are rocking Sunday red on the course was wild to see in person. Was there any specific moment or is it kind of just happened slowly over the year and a half?
Yeah, you're kind of right there. The other athletes are the ones that sort of tipped us off a little bit, and it was there was a couple guys early, almost instantaneously when you started realizing like, ooh, people really want to participate in this. Like it's like it was kind of a fascination there. It was early. We were getting requests from. And I won't go too much in the detail. We were getting requests from other PGA players that were other brands wanting product for themselves. So there was a real realization early on that, oh man, this guy is asking for the chain stitch hoodie from us. Like that was there was a couple players and we're like, oh my, really? So that was something. So it's a really interesting journey. So early on, other PGA players wanted our product, and then it turned to NFL players, and then it turned to NBA players, and then it just kept going, and then it turned to, and it was started with the sweatshirt, and then it turned to like full gear. And so it just sort of evolved very quickly like that. And those were the moments behind the scenes where like, well, something's really going on here. Like this is, and you see it if you've ever been in a room with Tiger, or you've been around Tiger with other athletes, it's a weird thing to see because it's the only time those other athletes, whether it's Scotty Scheffler, whether it's Josh Allen, whoever it might be, you stand there and like, they're usually the guy in the room. And then this guy is coming, the murmur starts to happen, and they stop and they kind of turn their head and they know everybody knows what's happening because Tiger's walking down the fairway or he's walking into the room, and then they stop and then they stare at him and they watch him walk by, and then they introduce themselves like he doesn't know who Josh Allen is. He's like, I'm Josh Allen. He's like, nice to meet you, I'm Tiger. And whether Tiger knew who it was Josh Allen or not, I was like, oh, this is like either a flex or he really just doesn't know. Like he's in there, just doesn't do that. But he's a Raiders guy, so he kind of knows. But like these guys, it happens every single time. And you see it at the TaylorMade photo shoots that they've released some of the footage where you see Tiger messing with Scotty. But like this is legit. Like he's still that guy that moves the needle for all these other athletes. And so to get the call outs from behind the scenes from the players and the managers and all this for product, and you start seeing it pop up, it makes you feel really good, but like, oh, it's kind of cool. Like it's just like one of those brands that other dudes really like he's that guy. And you maybe thought you kind of knew it was, but when you see it happen, you're like, boy, even it was at a better level than I even thought. And well, you know, you've worked with like, I was fortunate to be with like Adidas when Derrick Rose was the guy. We're making shoes, and I'm like, boy, everybody loves Derrick Rose. This is like, there's another levels going on here, and he sort of is. He's even at 49, 50 years old. He's sort of, man, he can just suck the air right out of the room with these guys. It's awesome to see. So, yeah.
It is crazy. Ever since the access that I now get on a tournament level, these guys, the conversations that they have on the range, I think fans they're too far away. They obviously can't hear. They are constantly talking about who's wearing what footwear and apparel and what hat is that. Obviously, there's a million times noted about equipment, but these guys are also having the same dynamic conversations about apparel and footwear every single Sunday or every single tournament weekend. That was something that I was like, holy cow, I'm just listening to the questions that they're asking each other because they're so dialed in. But to your point, what Tiger mentioned earlier, everybody is looking for just the smallest of advantage, and they want to know what everyone else is doing or what everyone else is up to.
Yeah, I think the difference there too is that those guys maybe they're involved in some of the advisement of some of the product, but generally they're not. You know, they're wearing some brand's product, right? And they're like, oh, it's great. Tiger is building the shoe. He is building this glove. He's building this hat, and you know, it's so that's a little bit of the fascination. Is like, man, if Tiger could build a shoe, like how good is that shoe? You're like, it's pretty good. It's lower to the ground. Like it does things differently than the shoe you're wearing. You're like, you either like it or you don't, maybe, but like it's definitely going to be different. And he's got a point of view on it. And there's that fascination. Like you're sort of like, his glove is a good example. I'm like, he's just like, these passion projects for him. He's like, how thin can you get this leather? Like his hands are so important to him. He's like, how thin can you get this leather? And, you know, I'm like, listen, I can get it this thin without it just shredding. And so he's like, then get it that thin. And so we worked on, you know, like that is an example of like that glove is like crazy hard to build. I can't build that many of them because of the thinness of the leather. The fit is super critical because if it doesn't fit right, it will just tear instantly. And so a lot of amateurs buy it and they're like, man, I don't know, this glove doesn't last long. I'm like, yeah, because dude, you're not getting the right fit. Or like, oh, this is for a tour level guy. I have another glove if you want that glove. But like that glove on other tour players has a better contact. It's stickier, it's gripper, it's thinner. And knowing that these guys, like those things are like, man, they're so dialed in. Like they feel grooves and they feel so things that you would just sort of, you can't believe that they're so good at. The fact that he's involved building that is like in that world, but behind, you know, in between the ropes, these guys are like, I kind of want, can you send me some Tiger gloves? And they were sending these gloves out to these guys. And then they're either going to their own glove supplier and saying, I need one as thin as this, which we've heard that happens. Or they're just wearing our glove and trying to like get around it on the practice or change the logo on it, which you see a lot in the game of golf, right? So the head cover comes off and you're like, that's not a Callaway glove, it's a TaylorMade driver. So, you know, there's a little bit of that going on, but like, it's been kind of fast. That's part of it is that Tiger's, it's like, if a golfer could build this, what would it be? And it happens to be that guy. So there's a fascination with it. So we see this a lot going on right now in the game of golf with these guys that you're like high level athletes, and having TaylorMade here, you know, you can imagine the stable of guys we're working with out on the range where they get access to product sort of out of the public eye. You know, they're like, hey man, can I try these on kind of thing. They're doing that a lot, which is kind of cool to see. So, you know, it changes the landscape a little bit. The golf landscape and where the guys have been sponsored and how they've been sponsored and who've been sponsored has changed a lot in the last few years. And I think that's a lot of it is that you get brands now coming in that like they're listening to their guys, they're building stuff a little bit more athlete first, and it matters to those guys a lot. So, you know, we're fortunate to have a guy that is like, you know, is looked upon as like very detail critical, and that goes in the product. So maybe it's a little different than some of the other stuff that people are able to build, but we've had the freedom to build whatever we want to make sure it's the best we can get it. And it's fun to see sort of the high level tour guys kind of kind of ask for stuff behind the scenes.
That's so dope. I think as a final sign off too, this could be interesting. Is there anything that Tiger has specifically asked for or requested that you guys haven't built yet that consumers would be surprised of?
I think so. There's things that he challenged us early on, and a lot of it's weather related. That's where it's been really hard to get there. Um, he struggles in poor climates getting um, equipment, apparel, accessories, footwear to work as if it weren't raining and cold, right? So like you tend to put on a lot of layers, or you start to change into other fabrications to sort of battle the elements and things like that. Um, that's not advantageous when you're trying to smoke a ball 350 down the middle. Like you need to feel like you're not wearing anything. So there's some things that he challenged on that we've been working on for 2 years
Mm.
to get right through trial and error, which in a couple of the items nobody has on the market, because it's really hard to build. And so we're very close to sort of finalizing a couple pieces that are coming out. So there's a couple like climate pieces that we have coming out in a couple categories, which will be kind of they'll be super interesting because nobody has these right now. And it kind of is, it's a little bit of like, it was really hard to do. It was just really hard to do. Nobody's done it. We had to like change some yarns and the way we sort of treated product, and sort of had to build it in a different way, and had to travel to a couple countries to get trial and error these things. But there's a couple categories a couple items are coming out in a couple categories in the elements division that would be kind of interesting. And then there's the other side of the brand, which I think is really interesting for us, is sort of the athletic golf space, which in large part, the way we look at it, was abandoned when Tiger created his own brand. The space of sort of the athlete golfer and sort of that product category is filled by a lot of brands, but nobody, in our opinion, is doing it at a level that we think it should be done. So we're pretty committed to having an arm of our brand being the most technical, athlete driven golf, on course sort of brand that exists. So we have a sort of a beautiful classic premium side of the brand, which is always sort of be the core, but we think there's a space for the sport side of it, that nobody's doing as good as we think we can do it. We spent a lot of time in the last few weeks looking at just how out in the outdoor industry would approach the game of golf, and just taking that look and that cue as other people are sort of dabbling in that. And there's a learning to be done from all these super technical brands that make incredible product for the outdoor environment in that space, and the way that they're looking at fabrics and the way they go together, and the way that the seaming and the build and the quality, and like taking that approach and putting that in the game of golf and delivering a product that's like incredibly clean, incredibly technical, almost like super simple, but also has it gives it more of an athletic look to it in a space that sort of connects to our brand, but like is really really interesting, and sort of a notch up from anything that's going out there right now. We've got something like that coming in 26, in the back out of 26, that we think we're super proud of, that we just sort of signed off on, well, actually a couple hours ago, and it looks awesome. So there's products that we're coming out with that we've worked on, and from an innovation standpoint, that's more of an elements thing. And then there's a whole category that we're going to drop in the back of 26 that's very Tiger friendly. That's going to be, I think, going to reset some of the market in where golf is at, and sort of the athletic sports space.
That's amazing.
Yep.
No, I'm again a massive, massive fan of the brand, and just absolutely perplexed on what you guys have been able to do in less than 2 years. It, from my side of the standpoint, just doesn't make any sense. That's what I've said over and over. But no, you guys are doing an insanely great job in the space, and have definitely found your lane in a very noisy category that has expanded over the last couple of years. So kudos to you guys.
Appreciate you saying that. Thanks for being a fan of the brand. We love everything that we're doing, and we're happy to do it. And we love feedback anytime. So
awesome.
It's been great.
Cool. I appreciate it. I'm ready to book my ticket to come on down there. I used to live in Orange County for a minute, so this is good.
Well, yeah, it's 85 degrees today and sunny. So, it's never a bad time. So anytime you're in the area, please stop by. We'd love to give you a tour. Yeah, man.
Love that.
Perfect.
Thanks, Cáje.
Thanks, Raymond.
All right, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you're feeling the vibe, hit that subscribe button and drop us a quick review. It helps us keep the conversation going and growing. For more golf fashion, follow us over at Skratch and Golf Projects. We're always serving up style and stories that make this game what it is. And if you're hungry for even more, head over to Skratch.golf, where our collective stories live. Until next time, dress well and play fast. Peace.